Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be doing our June native plant garden tour. I've got lots of things that are looking really nice right now. My wild blue lupines are looking incredible. If you have a favorite native plant that blooms in the springtime, let me know in the comment section below. We can all get some ideas from each other and I can always expand my native plant collection. So let me get to the videos now. Thank you so much for watching. Here is our wild blue lupine. This is in our boulevard garden in the front, and it is all in bloom, looking spectacular. I just love this plant. It might be one of my new favorites. I love how it kind of goes purple from the bottom and then kind of goes to like mauve and white and cream at the top. It's absolutely beautiful. I've got a ton of lovely blooms. These ones are a little bit later, so they have kind of like bloom from the bottom to the top. And it's just so pretty. And then you can see down here where we got some. We've got some babies over here. Got some over here, some over here from all the seeds that dropped. So very excited to have those guys grow too. And we'll have lots of beautiful wild blue lupine in our boulevard garden. So here is our Prairie Smoke, and it is looking great. We had lots of lovely blooms, and now we have these really unique little seed heads. So this is what it looks like when it's all gone to seed. Is that not the coolest thing? It's so pretty, and so this is where it gets its Prairie Smoke name because it looks kind of wispy, kind of smoky. And so once these are all ready to go, and probably just a little while longer, I think, then we're going to harvest these seeds and keep them for next year. Maybe do a fall sowing so we can get more Prairie Smoke to share with others and to maybe put more in this boulevard garden here as well. So here we have in our boulevard garden our common milkweed. And this here, I purposefully put this behind this traffic sign right here because this will get a little bit taller. So I'm kind of like bridging the rules for the boulevard garden. So I didn't want this to be obstructing any views here. And so this is going to get maybe like 3, maybe 4 feet tall. And then we'll have the flowers at the top of these stalks. And they're just lovely. They look so beautiful. Now this plant is actually quite aggressive. So that's why I put it in my boulevard garden, because if it wants to go crazy all through here, I'm totally fine with that. But if you put it in another spot in your garden, it makes underground runners that kind of go underground, pop up. And so it can be a little tricky to keep contained. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be planting the common milkweed plant. Here's our prickly pear cactus. You can see that we've got some new pads coming. See, check this out. These are new little pads that are growing. There's another one over here. And then I've got more prickly pear cactus over here. And this one is looking kind of different. So these little spikes, for one, they are friggin' sharp. I just tried to move all of these little guys off of them so he would look good for our video, and holy moly, my finger hurts. Anyhow, this guy over here looks a little different. Look at how it has like, I don't know, these like unique little bits that are coming out. That's different than the other ones. So I'm not sure what this guy is, but we will keep an eye on this and give you updates as we go. I haven't had a bloom yet on this plant. I have seen pictures. There are these pretty yellow flowers. So really hoping that we maybe get a bloom this year. So we will see. Anyhow, prickly pear cactus, very cool native plant for Ontario. Here we have our Lanceleaf Coreopsis, and you can see that it's starting to get ready to bloom. So there's the bloom head before it kind of pops into those pretty yellow flowers that I'm expecting soon. And then if you deadhead this will keep blooming all season long. We've got a whole bunch of it. There's some there and kind of all around this sedum here. This is at the edge of my garden, so it might be a little tall for this spot. I might have to move it over time. But either way, very much looking forward to the whole bunch of yellow blooms that I know are coming very soon. Over here by our little log piece that came from a fallen tree that happened with an ice storm last year, we've got our little Bluestem. And I just love this plant. It's so pretty. It's got kind of like a frosty color to it. Got one here, and then there's another one kind of in the back over here, and then another one in the boulevard garden. So very beautiful plant. Love the fall foliage as it goes kind of rosy, but right now it's looking really cute too. Over here in our kind of part shade garden, we've got our golden Alexanders. So here they are. They're looking a little spindly right now, and I think that is because we had just the most dry couple weeks recently. So I'm hoping that it'll kind of like bush out a little bit more and look a little happier, but that's okay. It's still looking all right. These are the lovely little yellow flowers that we get. And this is a host plant to the black swallowtail butterfly. So fingers crossed we'll get some little caterpillars on that this year as well. So we have a couple of new additions this year. I'm very, very excited. It's kind of hard to see with all the fallen keys. It looked way better before these all fell. But either way, we've got a Serviceberry bush here. And then all along here, we've got black raspberries that we got from Ontario Native Plants. And then also in front, we've got some low bush blueberries. Low bush blueberries. I think that's what they're called. Either way, wild blueberries are going to be in the front here. So very excited to have these wild fruits that we're going to be enjoying. And we put this in the front here because this is a spot that gets a lot of sun. And we don't have a lot of sun on our property. So hopefully they'll be happy here, and hopefully we'll get fruits in the next year or so. Over here we have a new shade garden. So there was a very unhappy 9-bark in the middle and a very unhappy cedar, which we've replaced with a very unhappy chokecherry. And now we've got a whole bunch of new natives. So we've got in the center here is a low bush honeysuckle. And then over here, there's 3 bottle brush grass. I've got some non-native astele plants there that are kind of pretty pink color. We've got some woodland strawberries at the front. A couple ferns here, one there, and a couple over in the back there. Some trillium. And then we've got some large leaf aster over here. So this is the sad chokecherry that was a transplant from a friend. Thank you for that. I've for sure killed it. But I do have a new chokecherry coming in from Bee Sweet Nature Company. So they will be replenishing this little area as well. And so apparently the transplant was not successful, but hopefully the rest of these guys do well over time, and hopefully we'll get some rain soon because it has been a dry time for this poor new garden. So it's coming tomorrow, which is why we're recording today. Over here in our shade garden, we've got our Canada anemone, and we've got a bunch of blooms, which is just lovely. They're such pretty little plants in the shade garden. I just love them. They're so cute. They kind of remind me of water lilies a little bit. Some have passed already, and we'll let this guy go to seed, and then we'll drop the seed and help to establish this in our garden. Although I have heard that it's quite an aggressive spreader on its own, so we will see, and we will encourage it because I would love to have a whole bunch of it in our shade garden. Over here we have our Solomon seal. You can see that the flowers have all passed. So I have a couple pictures of when they were in bloom. These guys over here are just on their way to pass. So they were very, very lovely. For now, it will be lovely foliage in the back part of our shade garden. And I just love this plant. So if you haven't got some, make sure to get some, especially for your shady spots. Here's our Foamflower plant. It's looking pretty good despite the drought that we've had recently. It's all done flowering. And now I don't see too many seeds. We might get a couple there. We will see. Again, we're just going to leave this and let the seeds drop, and hopefully let this plant establish more in our shade garden as well. I don't see too many runners coming out. This guy's kind of popping out. So we definitely want this to establish itself here. We had some of that sweet woodruff all over here, which was going bonkers. So got rid of that to give this guy a little bit more room to stretch its legs. So hopefully he'll feel at home here and get a little bigger as well. Here's our Marginal Fern. This guy was a transplant last year from the cottage, and he's doing pretty well. Again, it's been really dry, so, you know, ferns need a little bit more moisture, and he doesn't seem to be complaining. So really, really happy. Love this plant. Gives a lot of nice texture in the shade garden, especially mixed amongst the kind of common hostas that we've got here. So gives a little bit more dimension to the shady garden as well. Over here in the back of this skinny little garden on the side of the house that gets a ton of sun, we've got our New England Aster. Now this plant can get really tall and leggy. So right now, this weekend, I'm going to be Chelsea chopping it. So I'm going to chop it down by either 1/3 or 1/2, and then that will make the plant kind of branch out more and be more bushy and not as tall and leggy. So that's what I'm looking for. This plant isn't going to bloom until the fall anyhow, so it's not going to affect the blooming. In fact, it might even make it bloom more. We might get smaller flowers, but more flowers. So I'm going to do a little video on that, but either way, this plant is going to be shorter next time you see it, and it will be very, very happy in this sunny part of our garden. Over here in what was a very sunny spot, which is now kind of shady because we've got this sand cherry, this purple sand cherry here that's gone bonkers, we've got the butterfly weed. And you can see that it's just starting to develop its bloom or bloom heads. And they're going to be those bright orange flowers that I just love. I've got a whole bunch of baby butterfly weed that I'm going to put in more sunny spots. And hopefully those will be established well. This plant has a long taproot, so it doesn't like to be moved. So I'm just going to leave it. It's kind of stretching out towards the sun anyway. And hopefully it can make itself happy here despite my not perfect conditions for it. Here in our lending library garden, we've got the red bud tree. So this is just a wee little thing right now. It's only about maybe a foot or so tall, but look at these leaves. Aren't they lovely? They're like perfect hearts. They're so pretty. And this plant will grow lovely, beautiful pink flowers all over it in the springtime. So we've passed that now, but either way, this is going to be a tree. It's not going to be a very big tree, but we've kind of put it in this front area in the garden where it gets some part shade, part sun, and hopefully it'll be happy here. I think it's going to look gorgeous over time. Let me show you kind of what we're looking at. This is the front of my house here, and so it's going to kind of grow up here over time, and then we'll probably be getting rid of this Norway maple, and there's another one over here boop, 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 as well. So it will definitely be competing for resources, especially for water, but we're going to try to keep it as happy as we can and hopefully have this lovely plant grow and look gorgeous over time. Here is our wild Columbine plant. This plant has done flowering, and now we're starting to set some seed. So let's see if we can see a seed head here. So this is the seed head. You can see that something has been walking all over it and making a little web. Well, that's kind of cool. Either way, this is going to make a whole bunch of seeds in here, and then we'll let them dry. And then once they're dry and crispy, then we'll know that they're ready to drop. And then we can kind of put them down here in this part of the garden so that we can get more wild Columbine as well. Back here, we have got our swamp milkweed, and it's doing great. It has been so dry, and yet it's still looking awesome. Very green, lots of lovely shoots coming up. So I think it's going to look awesome in the back part of this skinny little garden in our backyard. Here we have our Scarlet Beebalm. Now I just read that you can actually do the Chelsea chop on this plant. So you can kind of snip it off at this point when it's gotten to about this high, and you can chop it off at about a half to a third of the height, and it'll grow more of a bushy kind of Scarlet Beebalm. These have all kind of grown stalks. So I don't know if I should do this or not. I might just do a little experiment and do it on a few, but I do find that they do kind of flop over. We've got one flopped over already. So I think that this is worth a shot. I'm going to give it a go and we'll see how it does. But fingers crossed it makes it more bushy and have a lot more blooms that kind of all pop out on the sides as opposed to on the long kind of stalks that we have here. So wish me luck. Over beside our Scarlet Beebalm, we've got our obedient plant, and this is looking really great. We've got lots of stalks coming up. These are the plant that grows kind of about 4 or 5 feet tall, and it has those kind of spires of a whole bunch of purple, kind of whitish purple flowers on it that the pollinators just love. So looking really forward to all of that, but right now it's just a nice kind of bushy plant in my spring garden. Here in the back of our gardens, we've got our itty bitty baby paper birch tree, and it's looking great. Look at all the leaves that we've got here. So he is telling us that he's doing awesome and he will grow enormous, but right now he's just this sweet little thing in our garden. Also in our back garden, we've got some wild Columbine. And isn't it funny how in the different parts of your own yard, you can have different kind of stages of the same plant. So look, we've got some blooms still on this plant. And in the front, we have no blooms at all. So kind of strange, not sure why.
This one might get a little bit more moisture, but probably the same kind of sun conditions. So not sure why they're at kind of different stages, but happy to have these blooms still going back here. Back here amongst our allium, we've got our Rudbeckia hirta, or our black-eyed Susans. And look at how big they are. These guys are about 2 feet tall right now, which is awesome. In the front, we've got a couple in our boulevard garden, and they're half the size. They're looking kind of puny, and really they're the same plant. They were grown from the same seeds, and these guys are looking way better. These are in part shade. They probably get a little bit more moisture, so maybe that's what's making them bigger and happier back here. Here is another of our Serviceberry. This is the one that was a tree last year. I got it kind of this size. It looked great, and then it got real dry in the end of the year, and I think it just did it for it. It was very, very unhappy, but we've got lots of growth left, so fingers crossed over time this will reestablish itself and look great and be very happy and give us lots of fruit. My fingers are crossed because I really, really love this plant, so hopefully in the next little while we'll get some of those. So this is just one of the violets that we have in our yard. There's a ton. There's all sorts. They've all volunteered themselves in and amongst the grass, in different shady spots. This is just one. They're all kind of looking similar right now. We don't have any blooms, but hopefully more will come. Then I've got a couple new guys here. I'm not sure what this is. So if you know what this is this a friend or a foe? Let me know. And same with this one over here. This kind of hiding in the back of our garden near the more naturalized area. So we often get lots of volunteers, and some are good, some are native plants, and some are invasive as well. So you just got to watch out for that. Okay, so last video, I had no idea what any of these things were, but now we did a little bit of research and we've got some butterfly weed. This is all from seeds that I sowed last fall. We've got, what are you? Ooh, anise hyssop. This plant is apparently a pollinator magnet, so excited about that. This little pot has a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm not sure what all of these things are, but the package, or the little bit of seeds that I got, was Virginia mountain mint. So I'm thinking maybe this might be Virginia mountain mint, but I've also got this thing in here. So not sure what that is. We've got this guy over here. So I'm going to need to identify these things before I yoink him out. But hopefully some of this is Virginia mountain mint. Then we've got some dense blazing star. We've got some sneezeweed seedlings. I've got a whole bunch of white turtlehead. And that's it for now. This over here we have some American bellflower, a random sign that has fallen in. And then we're supposed to have some Joe Pye weed over here, but I'm not thinking that these are Joe Pye weed. I think we've got some weeds and some random little volunteers, so we'll figure that out later. And then we've got some nodding onion, some spotted bee balm. This was supposed to be some false sunflower, but not looking like any of those guys showed up. This is supposed to be rough blazing star. So if you think that that's what that is, please let me know. I'm really hoping it is. We've got some baby Canada anemone. We've got some golden Alexanders from seed. And then what do you think this is? This is great blue lobelia. So lots of plants that are showing up from last year's fall sowing. Very, very excited. I think I'm going to have to split some of these because they're going to be fighting for resources. So I'll be sharing some of the ones that are kind of crowded like this with friends, and then planting a whole bunch in the garden soon as well. Here is Nibbles. For those of you that have been following along, Nibbles was our black swallowtail butterfly that we rescued from a flower arrangement in a restaurant. So we gave him this little home, and now he's in a chrysalis still. So I'm hoping he's still coming. So if you know anything about black swallowtail butterflies and when they come out in the spring, let me know in the comments below, because I'm really hoping that he's still coming. I'd love to meet him in his new form.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found the video interesting and helpful. If you have any ideas on how to better grow these native plants in suburbia or in a home garden context, please be sure to leave some comments in the comment section below. We can all learn from each other. Thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing. We'll be doing lots more videos just like this over the whole growing season, so you can see how these plants change over time. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.